Welcome to a special bonus episode of Tiny Game Chronicles. My name is Marcus, and here with my good friend Michael, we've decided to do a little episode for you all about our games of the year. You know, it is that time of year, Michael.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great to see you. It's a Christmas miracle. We're here together. This episode will be releasing
Again.
on Christmas Day. How are you doing, my
Yay.
friend?
I am well, slowly but surely getting into the Christmas cheer. Although in real life, obviously, there are some challenges that we spoke about that I'm facing that we spoke about offline. But other than that, Marcus, I'm well. It doesn't look like we're going to have a white Christmas. So
Oh no! We've got lots of snow
lo-
here. I
oh,
could send
okay.
you some. Yeah.
Blue... Please don't. Lots of blue sky here, but it is cold.
Yeah.
But yeah, weather forecast is no snow this Christmas. So
I don't think I know the answer.
in
Do you typically have a white Christmas where you are?
So the last few years, yes. Yeah, this year it's been extremely warm. I think it's one of the warmest months recorded so far. So we've been having, Marcus, between 10 and 15 degrees.
Oh wow!
Which for us is warm. So climate change is definitely here. So no Christmas feeling at this stage.
Well, Michael, I was taking a look back at all the games that we've played, and we're kind of extending our game of the year discussion for this, right?
Yes.
We're gonna go back to, we started this podcast in October of 2024, so we're gonna encompass all of the games that we've played up till October 24. So it's kind of like game of the year plus a few months.
Plus, exactly.
So going through, we played a lot of really good games. How did you find the process of going through and coming up with your list of top games that we played here on TGC?
I think I needed to have a little structure for myself to kind of give it a kind of score, and I think it's I'm very thankful that we had this exercise, because it made me think about, you know, how this tiny experience was with regards to playing short games. And Marcus, I made for myself a category. I know this is just my category so that I can score these games. So I'm a story guy, I'm a narrative guy. So I first of all look for, does the game that we play have any emotional impact? So for me, right? So this is one of the things that I rate games on. Then what are the mechanics? I think for you as well as mechanics is a critical aspect of the game. Point number 3, and the only 4, is narratively. Is this kind of telling a story? Are there some themes there? You know, the message of the story of the game land. And last but not least is, how polished is the game? So how much craftsmanship went into it with regards to the art, the sound, you know, the technical capabilities of the game. How well was it made? And so I gave each game a score in those 4 categories, and that's how I came up with my game of the year, Marcus.
And once you got those final scores, were you surprised? Because this is a pretty formal process.
Yes.
And so did you stick with it? Like, that's how you ended up settling, and you were like, okay, well, I guess that was my game of the year because it scored the highest. Okay,
that's exactly how I went about it. And I was very surprised about some games that didn't make it. Once I went through this process, right? So I'm not going to spoil it. We're going to go through it just now. I just didn't only look at the high scoring games. I also looked at what games really scored low, and I was surprised. So I didn't expect them to score that low. Yeah.
Well, a much more formal process than I. What I usually do when I'm thinking about like my favorite games of a period of time is I reflect back about kind of like how I think about the game and how long it's still sat with me. And you know, one of the metrics that I use, it's not quite as formal as you, is when I'm thinking about these things, it's like, how often did I tell my wife, Lindsay, about these games? Because she's generally not super interested in video games, and if I can't shut up about a game and I feel like I have to tell her, then it probably means that it really landed well with me. And so like the games that are on the top of my list are ones that I could not shut up about to her. And so that's my metric more than anything else.
It's an inspiration for me for next year, Marcus. Talk to Patricia about it. Yes, no. How often?
So what we're going to do today is we're going to start off with some honorable mentions. We'll kind of do quick hits on some games that didn't quite make our top 5. Then we're going to also go through kind of 5 to 1, go back and forth, and reveal our top 5 games. Before we do that, though, we do have a few stats that was, we wanted to pull together and figure out, just let the listeners know a little bit about the games that we've played, how long, the time we've spent playing these games. So I'm going to go through some stats to get us started here, Michael.
Let's do it.
Okay, so between October 2024 and mid-December 2025, we played 32 Tiny Games for the main show. And we've had 4 bonus episodes, 2 of which were Tiny Games that were solo episodes that I did. And then 2 non-Tiny Games we did. Expedition 33 with just the 2 of us. And then we had Consume Me with Emily and Kate from No Small Games.
Correct.
Went back through our play times, and I play of all of those games, including those 2 solo episodes that I did. I spent 121.25 hours playing all the games. And wow. Michael, a little bit more. Michael tends to, really like to marinate in these games, really explore his environment. So Michael spent 142.5 hours.
It's about 20 more hours than you.
With the 2 less tiny,
with 2 less
solo episodes, yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
But in my defense, I have to say that I have a different workflow
than you, yes.
Because I do lots of note taking regarding, with regards to my games, and I let the games run and then write down the impressions, the learnings, the insights that they have. So part of that, I would say 20% or so, is definitely used on me just doing my note taking.
So it's probably a little inflated. That 142 is probably a little inflated to what actually playing the game a little bit higher.
Exactly.
Okay, so we took a look at the shortest games we've played. So for me, the shortest game was actually, just a
lack of
episode
tools, Marcus.
Yes, a lack of tools. Karimara was 25. I spent 25 minutes on Karimara
on the trackpad.
On the trackpad, trying my darndest to get around that environment.
I love you, Marcus.
So it was 25 minutes before I gave up. But the true one that I actually finished, Dark Queen of Mortom. I got I think there were 3 achievements for that game, 2 or 3 achievements, and I got that one done in 33 minutes, Michael.
Great.
Michael, your shortest game, Dark Queen of Mortom as well, at 44 minutes for that one.
Note taking,
yeah, 10 minutes of notes, or at least let's say 6 minutes of notes, probably.
There we go.
Yeah. The longest games that we played. So my longest game was Jusant at 7.5 hours, and just behind that was 30 Birds at 7.3 hours, according to my Steam clock. Michael's longest game, 30 Birds at, do you remember, Michael?
I think about 10 hours, right?
10.5 hours you got down here. Yeah. And then the most recent game that we've done for the show, at 9.5.
Yeah.
And then I took a look at the last stat that I wanted to share was I took a look at the average game time across, both of us over all the games that we played for Tiny Game Chronicles for the show. And it worked out to 3.9 hours. The average game length between the 2 of us, we're picking a game for Tiny Game Chronicles. On average, it's just under 4 hours, 3.9 hours.
Yeah.
So,
which is okay, because I think we're living up to what we aimed to do, which is to play short form games. I'm just checking. You obviously did not take Consume Me and Expedition 33 in that calculation, right?
That's the only 2 that I left out. Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Now, Marcus, I think 3.9. I'm happy with it. I think definitely a goal for me for next year would be: can we get below that? So can we push closer to 3 hours or just under 3 hours?
Ooh, okay. Sure.
As a goal, just for us to kind of see can we,
Well, we're gonna just stop you including your note-taking time in your playtime. That'll get us down another a little bit.
Another 20%. That's probably right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to if we can experience these fantastic games that are even shorter length. That means we get to more of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was looking back over. This is just my total. All the games that I've played this year. I've rolled credits on 53 games to this point this year, which is by
Brilliant.
far way more than I ever have before. Like usually I'm in the low 30s or something like that. At least since I've
found mine as well.
Yeah.
But that includes also the tiny games, right? The 32 games that we've played, right?
Yep.
So
well, 30, a little less than 32 because this is only 2025. I've done
that's
53. True. Yeah.
That's
so
true.
like
that's true.
It means that I'm getting to experience more different things, which is cool. You're not kind of like stuck in one game, or there's very few that I'm stuck in game for 50 hours, right? So doing largely the same thing throughout the entire game. Actually, you get to experience more variety, I guess, which is great.
Yeah. And I was thinking, you can either play 30 short games or 30 plus short games, or play Persona 5.
Yeah,
right? So
totally.
The choice is yours.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah. I mean, we were talking about it just the other night, and with our good friend Nagachaka, friend of the show, and he spent 100 hours on just over 100 hours on Persona 5. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I could play 20 games that are 5 hours or less in that time. It's not even a decision for me. Like, there's not even there's no chance in hell I'm playing Persona 5 at 100 hours if the alternative is 20 tiny games. Just no way. Yep. That's why we're doing the show, Michael. That's why we're doing the show.
That's why I gave up on Where Winds Meet.
Yeah.
So I decided,
oh, you did? Okay.
I'm not going to play these longer games anymore because just so time consuming at the end.
It's a lot.
Regardless how much I enjoy them. So,
yeah. Okay, Michael, let's move on to our game of the year. We've dubbed them the Tinies. You came up with this. I love it. The Tinies are our Tiny Game Awards. And I wanted to start off, Michael, by talking about not our honorable mentions, but maybe our dishonorable mentions. There's a few games that really, really did not vibe with us. Do you want to get started on this? Your dishonorable mentions?
Because it's the one that surprised me the most. And I actually thought that I felt very differently about this game. So the very first game that made my dishonorable list, so to say, from the bottom up, is actually the first game that we played for the podcast. And that is Thank Goodness You're Here. And bizarre, because I wasn't expecting it. I actually thought that I would feel differently about it.
And this is based on the lowest scoring games based on your formula.
So the game mechanics, so there are obviously advantages of playing one-button games.
Right.
However, this was...
I forgot about that. Yeah.
This was extremely passive. I think the one of the big sort of flaw of the game, because it definitely is a strength, but it just didn't hit for me, was the narrative. So the humor. There are moments where British humor kind of hits, but this was, I think, so regional that some of the charm kind of went way over my head. And perhaps also here and there, so the game is also known as the British slapformer, so to say, but that slapsticks comedy kind of went over my head. And also maybe here and there could be a bit annoying. Craft-wise, I think the game is good. It has an original art style, but I think those two earlier points, the narrative and the simple mechanics, kind of made me not care about our main character. And that was quite surprising. So he's the one, or that game is the one that gets my first kind of dishonorable mention.
Okay.
We're going to go...
You go. I'll let you go through your list. We'll go through them relatively quickly. So you've got 3 more here. Okay.
So the next one is No Surprise Copycat. With our dear friend Delroy, which was great, but I think that, I don't know, this game tried a little bit too much with regards to bringing across the message of Stray Cats.
Yeah.
It was
The
kind of
human
more like
characters really sucked in this game. That's what I remember
there
most
was
about
not
it.
one likable character here,
Yeah.
and so for me as well, emotional impact pretty low. Mechanics didn't grab me. Actually, a little bit clunky as well. I think I gave the narrative a 4 out of 10, just because it wasn't believable. Even though I think this game did try and do something, and I think Marcus, you might agree with this. Split would
Yes.
be my next dishonorable mention. SPLIT. Um, just because I'm not a programmer. I think starting the game off and that learning curve was like way too steep, and also it was my first game of the developer, per se. Um, I did not understand the world I was in. It felt like, I was somewhere, I don't know, deep in a territory that was extremely cold, that felt very oppressive,
Yes.
but I didn't know what this was all about. So I think to connect to the game, I found hard. And last one, Marcus, although I loved our co-host, which was Dave, Arctic Eggs did get a dishonorable mention for me because, man, I don't know, flopping eggs in a pan in a very kind of dystopian future lost me.
Yeah.
So
Well,
very little emotional impact. The mechanics, I don't know. I'm not one where physics are not to be as controlled or aren't as controllable. And so this whole absurdity of the world that we were in did not, translate into compelling reason for me to continue flipping eggs. So those were the games, Marcus, that get my dishonorable mention. What about you?
yeah, so I've got 3 here, and 2 are the same as the ones you just mentioned. So
Interesting. Yeah.
Split and Arctic Eggs made my dishonorable mentions list, and the third one is Phoenix Springs. And I
Oh.
was thinking about this, and I've got a common thread. I don't know if might pick it out right off the bat, but it really has to do with kind of like the player input mechanism or model
Mhm.
for playing these games. So like Split, you're basically using a keyboard. You're
Yep.
entering commands and using
Yep.
the keyboard. Um,
And no
Arctic,
mouse.
no mouse. Phoenix Springs is a point and click game in the traditional sense. It
Yes.
uses like a little bit of a different, you're not picking things up in your inventory and like items, you're picking up thoughts, but otherwise it
Yep.
functions very much like a
Yep.
point and click. Um, and Arctic Eggs is a game that I played on Steam Deck, but as Dave, our fantastic guest, he's like, this is not a Steam Deck game. You need
Yeah.
a keyboard and mouse for
A
this, and
mouse to
it
play it.
was very challenging,
Clunky. Yeah.
clunky to play on controller. So I think that's probably and then these stories I think also are quite abstract in their
Yes.
telling, and so those are things I think that don't always click very well with me. So that I think that there's a few common things about the games that were not my favorite that we played this past year and a bit. So
Marcus, I have a question for you here. Do you also then go to Lindsay and complain about games that
I do, yes, 100%. She's well aware of these games. Yes, 100%. Okay, let's move
Awesome.
on
Yeah.
to some. Okay, we've got the negativity out of the way, Michael. Let's move on, and we'll do a quick rundown of some honorable mentions before we get into our actual games of the year. So
Let's do it.
honorable mentions. I'll start. I almost our good friend Nagachaka, again, friend of the show. He coins the term "one full experience," playing multiple games that are you have to have the full experience by playing more than
Resident
one.
Evil experience. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Last of Us 1 and 2.
Or Last of Us. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, my one full experience is Overboard and Expelled.
Yeah.
These are honorable mentions for me. These are games by why am I blanking on the developer name?
Inkle.
Inkle, thank you.
Inkle.
Inkle. They this is kind of their signature style. They do really good like narrative, choice based games. The gameplay is light, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
but you're having to replay these scenarios to kind of learn more information and eventually get your. It's not a rogue light by any means, but
Mm-hmm.
it almost feels like it in a certain way. And I think the writing is really spectacular in both games. So I really liked
Absolutely.
both Expelled and Overboard. Jusant, I love Jusant. But I didn't, because I played it for the second time. This time, other games are maybe a little bit more memorable, and that was
Mm.
really the only reason why it didn't make my top five. But I do really love Jusant. I love the story. I love the feel, like the actual mechanics, figuring out kind of the puzzles to climb up the mountain. So I really do like
Mm.
Jusant. Neva, I was actually, this one very nearly made my top five, but
Okay.
I was thinking back and it did not stick with me in the way that Greece did. Um,
Okay.
I think that in
Hmm.
a lot of ways, Neva is a better game than Greece. It's got, a combat mechanic, but it did not stick with me in the way that Greece did.
Hmm.
That story
Hmm.
in Greece, I think, really hit a lot harder. And then the last one that I have for honorable mention is Despelote. Really enjoyed
Okay.
Despelote. I think I like this game a lot more than you did, Michael.
Hmm.
But the slice of life, semi autobiographical story was something that we haven't really seen.
That's
Um,
true.
at least, particularly like a very specific time and place of this game. And I think that, the devs really captured that feeling of being in Ecuador during a World Cup run in the early 2000s, right? Like it very much
That's
exudes
something
that.
special.
Yeah.
Totally with you. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
those are my honorable mentions. What do you got, Michael?
So I also have four. And I'm gonna start with Journey.
Okay.
And O because or O or E
Yeah.
because I think those are totally formative games. So Journey, obviously, because of what it did for the indie genre. I never finished playing it, so this is my second attempt at playing Journey in the Tiny Game Chronicles context. And I pushed through, and I'm really glad I did. I think I understood the game differently back to when I played it for the first time, which was close when it was released. And I'm going to talk about it because perhaps this was the most formative game that I've played this year. And the only reason why it landed in honorable mentions and not in the top five is just because of the story. So,
Mm.
had this game had some sort of narrative, and it had a little bit of a narrative, right? So, not it didn't have anything. It would have scored higher because mechanics and craft. I gave this game a 10 out of 10, and that is pretty high, and I think extremely well deserved. And one of the few platformers I finished, Marcus. So that's why I stuck with it for 9.5 hours.
That's right. Yeah, I guess so, right?
So, um, then my next honorable mention would be Expelled.
Okay.
I know we spoke about Overboard and Expelled, Inkle's kind of flagship games. That's what they're known for. And I did a review for so many games, and
Right. I
that's
forgot about that. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
for
right. Yeah.
Expelled, and that was the
Hmm.
reason why I think I got even more involved in the writing in the game. Yeah, you're welcome for any listeners to read the review on so many games. Jake would be extremely happy if you do. And so narratively, I just gave it a really high score, just because it's extremely well written, and the standout was it's a period piece, right, with regards to how women were thought of back in the day when they were sent to specific boarding schools, and the role that women needed to play in society. I think quite an important game, also because Verity. And there are some Easter eggs about Verity as well that you're welcome to find out if you do play the game. Was the first one, or at least a character that kind of went against the flow a little bit. And I absolutely, I love the story of an underdog, and it's well worth your time playing through Expelled. And a
Well, and
game that
what I'll
we,
do, sorry, Michael,
yes,
I'll link to your article in the show notes. So if anybody
yes,
wants to check that out, I can put that in there.
wonderful. Thank you, Marcus. And a game that almost made my top 5 is Florence. It's very French. It's a beautiful love story. Love the gameplay mechanics. It's the perfect mobile game. I know it's been around a little bit more. My dog is barking. I'm not sure whether
Oh yes, you
you
can hear.
can hear
Yes,
him.
yeah, he's there. Yeah,
Yeah, so welcome. So that's Woodstock, by the way. So
Woodstock.
he's kind
Yes,
of making
welcome
sure.
Woodstock. Yeah.
um, yeah, I just thought that craft wise and narrative wise, this is a very, very polished game, so to say. And that's why it definitely deserves an honorable mention. It was my first time playing the game. And it's only about, I think, just over 30 minutes. I think maybe I took a little bit longer just because I made copious notes.
That's right.
But yeah, that'll be the last one to get my honorable mention. Definitely worth your time.
Okay, Michael, I think it's time to get into our top
Dun, dun,
5
dun.
games of the year for, giving out our tiny game awards. Tiny, the
Yes.
tinies, the
The
tinies.
tinies.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna get us started, Michael.
Yep.
It's a game we haven't talked about yet. Didn't make your honorable mentions list or your dishonorable.
Mhm.
Earthian. I
Yes.
really loved this game. It just brought me back to this time of playing these shmup games. And it had these modern amenities to it, but it was still like this game was built for the Sega Genesis Mega Drive hardware, and they're still going to be releasing a cart. I still think I'm going to get it I'll get Lindsay to buy it for me. I think that's what we had said. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's just a lot of fun. I think they have a really interesting kind of upgrade system that allows you to get a little bit more powerful. Again, almost roguelite in its nature. And yeah, a lot of fun with this one, Michael. Earthian, number
Beautiful.
5. Yeah,
So should I go with my number 5? Should we go bit by bit?
sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Do it.
Yeah, let's go back
Okay.
and forth here for this.
My number 5 is a wonderful game where we had a co-host, Dovetail,
Yes,
that came in. We wrote a little bit of poetry together, and
we did. Yeah.
I loved Time Flies, Marcus, just because you're literally a fly. You play a fly on the wall. And if you remember, we have a specific timer, and that timer was based on the life expectancy that we had in various parts of the world. And it was a wonderful existential crisis that you had as a fly going through your bucket list in the allotted time that you had available. I love this for its simplicity, for its humor, and also maybe for its tragic comedy that is there.
Yes.
Time
You can die
flies.
in a lot of interesting ways in this game. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I absolutely loved it. That's my number 5.
I really liked Time Flies as well, Michael. I would, it might be top 10 for me of the games that we played, but not quite top 5. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and the gameplay of Time Flies was actually what I really enjoyed as well. Like,
yes,
it's not, I wouldn't say like kind of the themes and stuff, but like checking those items off your bucket list, exploring the environment, trying to figure out how to meet like the criteria of the items on your bucket list. It's all really fun. Yeah, it was a good little game for sure. Okay, number 4, Michael. This is one you haven't played. It was one of my solo bonus episodes, and that was Lords of Exile. This is a very Marcus coded game. It's a a retro inspired 2D action platformer, very much in the vein of like a Castlevania or something like this. It really, I don't know, it hit all the right buttons for me. I do like these types. I'm drawn to these types of games, and it did what it was doing very well. So like, it's a relatively short game. I think it took me a little over 5 hours to play this. But the difficulty was maybe on the easy side, but at least until that final boss fight. I think the final boss fight was, that took me a solid hour, probably plus to beat, if I'm remembering correctly. But really cool, unique boss designs and a cool upgrade system as well in that one, and just a lot of fun to play. It is definitely memorable for me because it is the type of game that I really do like, and we've started to see a little bit more of these, but in my opinion, maybe not quite enough. Like this, I'd like to see a few more of these types of games. Like this does feel like it came right from, not unlike Earthian, came right from those, late 80s, early 90s style of
Nice.
games. Yeah, very cool.
Keeping my fingers crossed that we have some more of those experiences next year, Marcus.
Yeah.
And if it's right about the 2 hour range, I might jump in. So
Yeah. I know you did attempt this one. I had been kind
yes,
of
I did attempt.
I had been kind of like pushing it for a little while. I don't
Yeah.
like, the last thing I want to do is push you into a game. We've talked about this before, but like
Yeah,
push
yeah.
you into a game that is just such a slog for you. And so we try to find games that I know you're more than willing to give these things a shot, but it wasn't connecting with you, which is fine. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna play it eventually, and just do a bonus episode. So it all worked out.
And you did.
Yep,
Absolutely.
and I did.
And so we all have our space, right?
That's right.
To
That's
play
right.
the things that we want to play. Absolutely.
That's right.
So, Marcus, a game that you know of, and we didn't, we played not that far, or not that long ago. The game Far Lone Sails. The one where I spent a lot of time outdoors and you spent a lot of time indoors.
Yes.
If you remember.
Yes. Burning everything that it was not attached to the ship. That's right.
Exactly, Mr. Burn It All. I thought this was a beautifully crafted game, beautiful sound design, a wonderful melancholic atmosphere, because I think we witness a civilization that is no longer there. Definitely has an emotional impact. I think I played it like a collector's game, and you didn't. The mechanics were beautiful, so I think the loop was quite clear, with regards to how to get the machine going, how to get the wheels or keep the wheels turning. I think that's mainly what the game is about. And your vehicle becomes, I think, your closest connection, your ship, that needs a lot of love, maintenance, a lot of caretaking, and you need to do everything in order to keep it alive. So I think it's a game that invokes like a Zen state, because it's so meditative in its format, and yeah, it's a perfect game when you want to play something where you, I think, reflect on that which has been. So absolutely loved Far Lone Sails. That's my number 4. Marcus, your number 3.
My number 3. So this is a recent one, Michael. The last week's episode. I loved Ooh.
Yes.
I think that this game, maybe more than any game that we've played ever on the show, is just so amazing, exceptional at being able to teach the player and instruct the player to make them feel smart for figuring things out. Like it really,
You're right.
I talk about it on the episode, how it just leaves a bread trail, or a breadcrumb trail of clues on how to figure these puzzles out. And it's a lot of fun, relatively short, at least for me, 3.5 hours, I think I took to beat that one. And yeah, no, I think that this is just an absolute, we talked about on the show, an absolute masterclass in design. And it made me feel, I often struggle with puzzles, and this one made me feel smart. So huge recommendation for Ooh.
Very nice. Yeah, Marcus, and that's the only game that both got a game for its mechanics and its polish, right? So its craftsmanship. So and well deserved. I'm glad that it's hit your top 3. So my number 3 is a game that is in your honorable mentions, and that is Never. So Never, I know we played in 24.
Yes.
For me, when it comes to craftsmanship, a perfect game from Nomada Studio. They created for me a playable painting, if that makes sense. Where art style, I think every frame is worthy. A screenshot is worthy taking another look at. It's got a beautiful narrative about parenthood. The wolf with horns, predator and prey, if you remember that discussion, right? Embodied in one animal. the Wolf Cub originally. I think the mechanics were good. I mean, I scored a 7 out of 10 because it's the first time. If you compare it to Greece, we had no combat in Greece, and here we did have a little bit of combat. I don't think it was perfect, but I saw where they were going. I saw what the intention was there. But the standout definitely was the art direction. And if you love looking at beautiful screens, then Never definitely is a game that deserves your time of day.
Yeah, this one actually, again, it caught me a little off guard that it didn't end up in my top 5
Hmm.
because I did really enjoy it. It's probably just
Mhm.
outside kind of that 6-7 range, but yeah, it's a very
Good.
good game. Yeah, for sure.
Your number 2,
My number
Marcus.
2, Michael, this probably is the game that had the narrative that stuck with me the most.
Mhm.
And that is Indica. I
Hmm.
really loved Indica.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, like I would say that the gameplay at times can certainly be kind of clunky. Some of those
Mm.
puzzles were a little bit clunky, but I really really did fall in love with the narrative and the
Mm.
story that the devs wanted to tell with Indica. You know, it's a story about a nun who
Yeah.
didn't fit in
Yeah.
and is trying to make sense of the world after some, stuff that's happened in her past. Let's just
Yes.
say that.
Yes.
And yeah, like it just hit a lot of buttons. I'm tend to like stories that examine people and their connection with faith,
Mm.
and that's what this is, right? It really kind of challenges. I think Indica is constantly being challenged by
Yes.
her faith or by
Yes.
what she thinks she should be believing,
Yeah.
and um, it it's not a dissimilar experience to something that I had. I went,
Mm.
when I was a kid, I think I probably talked about it on the episode, but I went to Catholic school. My
Mm.
my my parents aren't overly religious, but my mom was raised Catholic, so it was kind of like, well, we'll send the kids to Catholic school. And it was a realization that I had that this was not what I believed anymore. And so
Mm.
when there are stories that examine this sort of thing, I really do
Mm.
gravitate towards it because it's something that I've had some personal experience with. And again, not to judge or kind of like
Mm.
um, pour salt on anybody else's beliefs, but that's just how that was my journey. And so when we have stories that examine other people's journeys, that there are definitely some similarities to what I've experienced. It really does resonate. So um, Indica, that one has really stuck with me for sure.
Because I think it poses some deep questions about faith. And I think those questions are important questions to ask. And yeah, they often obviously get put in the category of, well, one shouldn't doubt. No, you should not doubt your faith, or you should not doubt God, and things like that. So I can fully understand how this can have a deep impact on someone who has questions about, I think, faith, spirituality, religion. Um, yeah, because they are in itself all separate different things.
Well, and not only did I think the job or the game do a great job at examining Indica's personal,
Inner, yeah, exactly.
a struggle or,
Yeah, inner
contemplation about this
struggle.
stuff, but it
Absolutely.
also did a great job on how religion and faith, the role that they
What?
play in society,
A
and
hundred percent.
yeah, so like, yeah, it hit a lot of buttons for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Yeah,
conformity,
yeah,
outside conformity, versus inner doubt, right? If
yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah,
yeah.
beautiful. Thank you, Marcus. Yeah.
What's number 2 for you, Michael?
So number 2, should be no surprise. You know that I'm an RPG guy, and I love it when we have a tiny game that picks up on certain RPG elements. So my number 2 is Keep Driving. Definitely a standout game when it comes to mechanics. It's scored a 10 out of 10 for me, just because you need to start managing things like energy, fuel, various parts of your car, all while kind of being on this road trip. Um, I thought the pixel art was great, very retro in its UI. I thought the soundtrack was fantastic. It's a 2000, right, around about the year 2000, kind of indie, Swedish indie soundtrack. That makes sense. Love the road trip structure that the game have. Picking up random hitchhikers and what that did to you and your car was, which was wonderful. And yeah, the RPG driving, right? All the road hazards, Marcus, if you remember, that we
Of
had, the flat
course. Yeah.
tire,
Yeah.
the combat encounters, what was a brilliant recontextualization of what an RPG is. Yeah, a cozy RPG game, and I think that although I can't remember how long we took, there is replay value in it, right? Because you can follow different storylines, and I highly recommend Keep Driving from Swedish developers. So
Yes.
yes, Marcus.
YCJY is the name of the
Yes,
developer. Yes.
YCJY. There we go.
Well, Michael, I agree because we might well just jump right into it. Keep Driving is my number one, game of the year. I
See, there you
loved
go.
Keep Driving. There is not a game that we played that I think about going back to more often than Keep Driving. Everything that you said, it's got this RPG component. There's lots of replayability with this game too, because basically I just did one playthrough of the game. And I think back to that playthrough, there are like little moments, I found, what was it? I found cocaine in a dumpster and I was trying to drive up to the top of a mountain just to see what was up there. And I was running out of energy and I ended up having to use the cocaine and it still didn't get me. And my mom had to tow me back to the nearest town and like all these things, like it was such an adventure. And like, these are the stories and they're all unique stories. You didn't experience anything like what I just described, right? And
yes,
you end up being able to create these narrative stories of this game, and like you said, the music is awesome. Like it is road trip music. Like it is so good. You could find CDs in the environment and play different, like add them to your playlists. And
yes,
man, it is. I'm gonna have to start this game again, Michael. And this was a keyboard and mouse game. I don't know if they actually had controller if they've added controller support since then. I know that they were planning to do that eventually. I think it's still PC exclusive at this point, but they were also looking to add it to other platforms. But yeah, I happened to have a mouse at that time. I borrowed Lindsay's mouse that she had brought home from work that weekend or whatever that I played it. So that made it a little bit easier. But this is a keyboard and mouse game, Michael, and it is my number one. Like I think that unto itself says how much I enjoyed this game.
Yeah, and it's not surprising that we are so aligned in this game. This definitely was one of the highlights that we had this year, Marcus. And yeah, definitely we'll go back to it because there are still stories that I want to experience within this world.
There's so much of the game that I have not seen, right? Like so much of the game. And so, if it comes out to console, I'm buying it and I'll play it there for 100%. Yeah.
You didn't manage to get to the festival, right? Because I think that's one of the...
I did get to the festival. That's the one I think there are 3 official endings, and I did go to the festival.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, well done. Well done.
Yeah. What's your number one, Michael?
So, Marcus, number one, it actually also was part of your honorable mentions, but the only difference for me was that I played it for the first time. And you know that I like myself a good European game, and this is a French game. Yep. Jusant made it to my number one game. It scored an 8 for its emotionality, very much like Far Lone Sails. We also here witnessing the disappearance of a culture or the leftovers of a culture that was there before. I think it really grabbed me emotionally because you are in those heights. I think, Marcus, you also love mountaineering, right? Yes. Climbing. It's one of your hobbies. It's just something that just hits me right in the feels. Mechanics wise, it worked beautifully well. Narratively was beautiful. craftsmanship was a 10 out of 10 for me, just because how everything was so balanced. One could say there are platforming elements in this game, Marcus.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. Was just perfect for me. The standout, the unique standout was the climbing mechanic. Absolutely loved it. Felt a little bit like Assassin's Creed, right, to a certain extent. When
at
you're
times, sure, yeah.
At times, when you're climbing up. And I think it's just because it respects you as a player. There's a wonderful story behind it. There's a mystery that you get deeper into the higher you climb, and you got to figure out your path as you go up, right? So that path is not given for you. It's very rhythmic. You have to keep to a specific rhythm, and understand the story. It's not trying to hold your hand in any way. And for me, it's definitely the meditative masterpiece that I absolutely love and that I crave. And so Jusant gets my game of the year. I'm really glad that I spent some time with it. And we had Fulia as our guest on
We
this
did have
episode.
Fulia
right?
also, yes.
So
She was a big fan of the game as well. And, I think Jusant is French for receding tide or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes, yes, yes,
it
yes.
tells us a really cool story of, the civilization that lived on a mountain, and as the water receded, people had to move and leave. And so you kind of see what was left behind and what happened. And yeah, it's really, really good. Really good.
Very, very touching.
Mm-hmm.
So I must say, we've played an amazing amount of games, and I think games in its short art form can really have emotional impact. And I'm glad that we are championing these games, Marcus, the short form gaming, because I think that it definitely has a place in our gaming diet, right?
Absolutely. Increasingly so for me. It's a bigger portion of my diet. Yeah. The further we go here.
Very good.
Okay, well, Michael, that was awesome. That is a wrap on our Game of the Year episode. We'll finish off with a little bit of housekeeping, as we always do.
Mhm.
Of course, we would really appreciate it if you shared, liked, subscribed, and left us a 5-star review wherever you happen to be listening. Aside from that, you can follow the show on Blue Sky at Tiny Game Chronicles. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Marcus O'Neill 79. I also have 2 other podcasts, Hype Factor, which is a fantasy critic podcast, releases monthly. Fantasy critic season is going to be getting into, really starting to ramp up here. The end of December, early January. So if you're playing, I'd encourage you to check it out. I think we might give you some tips and help you win your league. And then our other show that we do with our good friends, Michael, brothers from another mothership, where we just get together, sometimes for longer than I expect, to talk and argue about video games. So that's also a monthly show, so you can check that out if that sounds interesting. Michael, where can people find you?
So you can also find me on Blue Sky under Drellesh, DRELLESH, as well as our tiny community. Marcus, and the link to our tiny community on Discord will be in the show notes.
Yes, and we are on YouTube. We will be posting shows on YouTube when Riverside doesn't mess things up. So unfortunately, our previous episode wasn't able to make it on. We were able to string together and salvage the audio, but the video was no go. So, but we will probably. So far, again, this next little bit, I think we're good here for this one. So this episode will be on YouTube, unedited, more or less, Michael. So if you want to see our handsome faces and see an unedited version of the show, you can check us out on YouTube. And I think that's everything for us, Michael. I think we're done here.
Yeah, it was a great discussion. And by the way, give us a like on YouTube as well. It's a new channel, so we obviously trying to
please subscribe.
To grow it. Subscribe. That'll also just help us with the algorithm, get a little bit more exposure. And yeah, I hope. With regards to recommendations, I can wholeheartedly recommend our top 5 games if you want to wishlist them and then get them whenever you are in the mood of playing one of these games. I'm pretty sure that if you follow our show and you follow us, you won't be sorry having spent a short amount of time with these games, just because they are well worth your time. Marcus.
Yeah. So we'll just wrap things up and say thank you for listening. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to all those who celebrate.
Merry
and
Christmas.
We'll be back next week with the Berlin Apartment. So keep an eye out for that. Okay.
Speak to you then.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.